Every once in a while, a horror game slips under the radar. No hype, no big audience, just quietly existing. Bad Cheese is one of those games, and it really shouldn't be, because underneath its strange presentation and surprisingly smart psychological horror experience, one that plays with your expectations, your perception, and your sense of control in most ways games don't even try. So why is nobody talking about it? The answer lies in the details, the characters, the stories, and the subtle ways the game messes with your mind. On the surface, it looks silly, almost nonsensical, but each character has a purpose, their behaviors, their quirks, even the way they react to you are carefully designed to make sure you question what's real and what's just a part of the game. The story isn't just a backdrop, it's a tool shaping your expectations and creating tension in ways that feel almost invisible at first, and that's where the real psychological horror comes in. It isn't screaming at you, it's quietly making you doubt, anticipate, and second guess everything you do. In this video, I'm going to break down the characters, the story, and exactly why Bad Cheese is more than just your average horror game and why it's a psychological masterpiece. You begin Bad Cheese as Kemek, a young mouse stuck at home while your mother is away. Your father, violating, demanding, and deeply unsettling, is the only adult around, and your main objective sounds simple: stay out of trouble and keep daddy happy. At first, the tasks are mundane. You clean the house, make meals, kill spiders, bring your father pills, all while trying to maintain a normal sense of life in the household that feels anything but normal. The ordinary beginning sets up the emotional core. You are a child desperately trying to meet the expectations of an abusive caregiver. The game uses cute 1920s cartoon styles visuals to make this blatant dysfunctional feel unexpectedly eerie. I actually have a clip of the exact time I realized that the father in this game was abusive. I'll play that for you now. I got the pills. I had the pills. I literally had the pills, Dad. Dad, just take. Oh, he's got a pill! Oh my. Oh. As you progress through the house, things become less grounded, hallways shifts, objects don't quite feel right, and everyday moments start to feel distorted. What was once a harmless cartoon will become a canvas for a psychological tension. The tasks just don't feel like chores anymore, they feel more like tests of obedience and survival. You're not just clearing dishes and finding snacks anymore, you're wrestling your own expectations, your trust in the environment, and the fear of what might happen if you fail. As you progress through the game, you can see more pill bottles and empty bottles of alcohol. What this means is it's showing that Daddy is drinking a lot and having a lot of problems with substance abuse. And every time you get caught or can't do an objective that Daddy sends you, you can see yourself getting caught and he has a belt in his hand. And I don't have to explain what that means, I think you can figure it out. I fucking hope I don't have to say Daddy one more time. Enemies and creatures, wrapped versions of domestic pets and animals, emerge, turning simple navigation into unsettling experiences. This escalation makes the familiar feel threatening, mirroring how the trauma twists memory and perception. Which probably went over most people's head when playing this game, because whenever they see it, all they expect is just another shitty horror game. I also think just the fact that if you look into the game, you can actually understand that most of the way they represent child abuse is quite accurate and the psychological areas behind it. By the end of the game, the atmosphere has fully shifted from quirky to oppressive. The horror game isn't about monsters jumping at you, it's about family dynamics, fear of punishment, and emotional manipulation. Instead of offering a clear conclusion, Bad Jeeves tends to leave players with a question and lingering discomfort. The experience mirrors many themes of psychological trauma, chaotic environments, unclear conscience, and an uneasy blend of nostalgia and fear. Unlike a horror game that wraps everything up nearly with a big twist or a clear narrative resolution, Bad Cheese ends in a way that feels more like a psychological conclusion than a traditional plot ending. The story doesn't hand you answers, it leaves you with a feeling something rather than knowing everything. At the end of the game, after you've navigated the surreal hallways, completed the uncomfortable chores, and dealt with distorted threats around the house, you reach a point where the environment collapses into something that feels almost symbolic. Once you reach the end of the hallway, you come across a mirror. In the mirror, you do not look like your regular self, so you have to click on multiple mouse traps until you look like yourself, and then you're able to exit the hallway.
It's like a mirror, but it's not me.
Oh.
Like me, but still too sad. Now I feel like it's really me.
After finally finding your true self, you will go into a room with a projector. The projector will project credits, and then you'll go to your right and there'll be a door with an exit sign above it. Once you go through that door, the game ends and it restarts to start. No fancy cutscenes, just an example of leaving and escaping your situation.
Wow. Okay, this is definitely a game that needs broken down.
The ending serves two purposes. One purpose of that ending is it reinforces the emotional theme rather than telling a story. Throughout the game, you've been trying not to upset Daddy, performing chores to maintain safety and normalizing in a dysfunctional home. A sudden shift to the credits and an exit that lacks closure mirrors how real trauma often doesn't resolve neatly. There's no tidy explanation for the father's behavior, there's no surreal distortions or the literal and metaphorical monsters in the house, just as real psychological scars don't get simple endings. Another reason the creators done really well in this game, and the second reason to the ending and why it feels unfinished, is because the game isn't really about the plot mechanics. It's about the psychological impact. Many players report that the game feels like it ends almost too abruptly, almost like the story isn't fully explained. That's partly because the game isn't structured around clear narrative beats with a final reveal. Instead, all of the weird visual contractions and distortions throughout your playthrough bunch into all one feeling, a sense of unresolved tension. The horror isn't something the game shows you, it's something that it leaves inside you at the end of the game. And that's why it goes over most players' head and why they think this is a really bad game, because it's not that scary on the surface. They really just don't understand the meaning behind it. Some players have interpreted elements like the final room or sequences with symbolic objects as metaphors for trapped childhood psychologically, internalized fear of punishment, and the sense of something always being a threat when there is none. But after going over why the game is actually good and scary and all the psychological horror, why is nobody liking this game and why is it being so overlooked? Why is Bad Cheese so underrated? Honestly, it's because of the way it presents itself. At a glance, it looks goofy, low budget, weird, and almost like a joke, and that's how immediately makes people not wanting to take it seriously. Most players go in expecting something dumb, or they just don't play it at all, and even if they do, the horror isn't obvious. There are no constant jump scares, no loud moments, no forcing of a reaction. It's quiet, subtle, it builds slowly, and that's what kind of horror is easy to miss if you're not paying attention. But that's exactly why it makes Bad Cheese work. Bad Cheese doesn't try and scare everybody, it targets the player's willingness to sit with it, think about it, and feel it. And in doing that, it becomes one of the most overlooked psychological horror games out there. Like if you compare with other games I've covered on the channel, like Numb Massacre, it is rapid, fast, and always in your face with jump scares, but Bad Cheese, as we've just stated, is completely opposite. It's slow, not really any jump scares, but if you really sit down and think about it, it is maybe on par with how psychologically scary it can be, and Numb Massacre is nothing to be laughed at. If you enjoyed this video or enjoyed the description of the game, I would highly recommend leaving a like and subscribe, just because it helps me and it can maybe get you more into my videos and maybe, you become a regular viewer, which would be pretty nice. But yeah, enough rapping about. If you enjoyed my video, like, subscribe, maybe check out other videos I have on the channel. I post videos like this all the time, and yeah, I believe that Bad Cheese is one of the most overlooked psychological horror games ever made.
Alright, what is that?
I had better vacuum up these corpses.